But we begin with President Biden, who is praising his administration's efforts at reviving the U.S. economy since taking office last year. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the U.S. added 390,000 new jobs in May, despite fears of an economic slowdown. The unemployment rate remained at 3.6% for the third straight month. Now, that is one of the lowest levels of unemployment in more than 5 decades. President Biden says the latest numbers are a good sign of where America is heading. He believes the U.S. has hit a new point in the economic recovery for his administration to build upon.
That's what we're beginning to see in today's jobs report. With today's numbers, the jobs over the last 3 months have averaged about 400,000 jobs per month. That's historically robust and a sign we're beginning to shift to steady growth after rapidly recovering 600,000 jobs per month over the prior 6 months. And as we move to a new period of stable, steady growth, we should expect to see more moderation. We aren't likely to see the kind of blockbuster job reports month after month like we had over this past year. But that's a good thing. That's a sign of a healthy economy.
So let's bring in CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe for more on this. Ed, great to see you. So as we said earlier, the May jobs report was better than expected. What is the Biden administration attributing to last month's gains?
Well, just the ongoing strength of the economy, especially in the job sector. The fact that there are so many openings across the country, especially in the retail in the service sector overall. The fact that there was growth and that it exceeded those estimates is just another encouraging sign for the White House. The other somewhat encouraging thing, and the president nodded to this, is the idea that while wage growth went up just over 5%, it wasn't as high as it was in some previous months. And that's actually seen as a sign that things may be easing off in terms of inflation and just the general firepower that's been behind this impressive post-pandemic or post-shutdown of the pandemic growth that we've seen that did contribute to some extent to inflation. So exceeding the job numbers, decent but not over-torqued wage growth, and the fact that it continues to demonstrate that there is strength in the economy, a desire to hire people, and yet still a healthy number of openings as well, which allows for some competitiveness for workers. All good signs for this White House that needed some encouraging economic news amid the justifiable and ongoing concern, of course, about inflation.
Right. And while this is sort of sunny news, Ed, and with the jobs numbers higher than anticipated, the report still did reveal a slowing in the U.S. economy. So that's complicating the picture a little bit. How is the president hoping to convince Americans the economy is in good shape and will continue to be, and he's on top of it?
Well, by saying, in fact, that slowing is a good sign. That in fact you're going to see in the next few months, he suggested, more moderate job growth, not north of 400,000 jobs each month necessarily. He says that's a good thing because it's going to keep things at a humming along at a good pace, but not at a point where prices are going to necessarily continue to spike. And so it's normally you're probably looking for a candidate or a president who says, look, explosive growth like that and big growth is a good thing. In this case now, because of inflation, they'd rather just sort of see things continue along at a decent plane. But beyond that, he continues to make the argument. We've maintained strong job growth. The economy is still one of the strongest, if not the strongest in the world. And there are jobs out there for people who are seeking them. And he continues to talk most recently again about the fact that the deficit's coming down. And by paying off that deficit, you are potentially also contributing to inflation. One other thing that he didn't get into that, of course, is the most immediate concern for so many is the fact that gas prices, among other things, remain so high. There are questions about whether he's going to have to make a visit later this summer to Saudi Arabia, of course, one of the world's biggest oil producers. He said in his remarks that he has no plans to do that yet. CBS News and other outlets have reported that a trip is in the works and that part of that trip would likely be trying to convince the Saudis to boost oil production to help bring down the prices. OPEC Plus yesterday announced that they're going to be outputting more barrels of oil by later this summer because of increased demand in hopes of stabilizing the prices. It's that kind of evidence that Americans are going to want to see to then get them to say in polling and in economic confidence indicators that they think things are in better shape.
Right, and we know, of course, that's a complicated relationship with the Saudis there.
Absolutely.
So, Ed, we do have some breaking news to get into. Former Trump advisor Peter Navarro has been indicted for contempt of Congress. What more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, the 72-year-old's going to be making an appearance in federal court here in Washington later today in response to these charges. And again, remember, an indictment is just an accusation. Doesn't mean he's actually committed a crime just yet. But the Trump aide has been found or has been indicted on 2 counts of contempt of Congress for refusing to participate or respond to subpoenas from the January 6th committee up on Capitol Hill. Navarro insisting that that's not something he needs to do. He has of course, filed suit himself, questioning the legality of the committee, making the Republican argument that because it doesn't involve or have members on it that were picked by House Republican leadership, it's a committee that shouldn't get to be conducting these kinds of investigations. And important to point out that we're now just a few days away from the first big public hearing held by that committee. They're scheduled to hold their first one next Thursday night. We're expected to learn more in the coming days about what exactly they'll lay out, who will be invited to testify publicly before cameras. Clearly, at least so far, Peter Navarro is not one of them.
All right. Well, Ed O'Keefe at the White House, thank you so much for that. We'll be checking in with you later, I'm sure.
Take care.